Thank you very much. Senator Blumenthal.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Thank you both for your service to your families as well, and thank you for the conversations that you had with me last week. I join you in expressing my gratitude and admiration for the incredible work done by our servicemen and women in the latest strike against Iran, the use of our B-2s and the intelligence that we were able to glean that enabled the strike, even though we don't know fully the extent of its success, I think is deeply impressive. And so I want to join in thanking our own military. But let me ask you, Admiral Cooper, how would you assess the importance of the Israeli military and intelligence contribution to making it possible for us to engage in that military operation? Would it have been possible without the Israelis, in effect, disabling and, in some instances, destroying the capability of their proxies and Iran itself in its air defenses?
Senator, thank you for that. Without getting into the specifics, which I think are best addressed in a classified environment, I think it is fair to say, and as the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs articulated this past weekend, that there were Israeli actions that we benefited from, but were not directly tied to, associated with this specific operation.
It may not have been a direct partnership, but certainly the contributions of the Israeli military were actually extraordinarily significant in whatever success we had. Would you agree?
I agree.
Let me ask you now to follow up on some of the questions that have been asked. You and I talked about the importance of drones and unmanned aerial systems. My view is that the nature of modern warfare is changing before our eyes in real time. The threat that we see now in the area where you're going to have responsibility, where you have had that responsibility, is asymmetric from many of those terrorist groups that attacked, for example, Tower 22 and killed a number of our servicemen there. Are we sufficiently protected in the area now against possible Iranian retaliation against the 40,000 men and women in uniform that we have in that area?
Senator, I do agree that the nature and the character of warfare is changing before our very eyes, and this is why I think the important work of this committee, whether it's the Forge Act or anything associated with it, where you can accelerate the delivery of counter-UAS systems or other warfighting tools into the hands of the warfighters forward, those are all value-added and needed imminently. If I look back specifically toward the Tower 22 incident in the ensuing now 17 or 18 months, we've made considerable improvements across the board, layered defense, employing both kinetic capability and non-kinetic capability. We really are leaps and bounds ahead of where we were before. Having said that, I would never be satisfied that we have the maximum readiness. I'll never be satisfied that we have enough to protect our men and women in uniform, and if confirmed, I would focus on this every single day.
We've done a lot, but we have more work to do.
For sure.
The Ukrainians are producing 4.5 million drones this year. The report I've seen is that the United States is producing about 100,000. I'm not sure that those figures are exactly right. They're in the public realm. But clearly, in my view, the United States is not producing enough drones. We are not supporting the industries that produce those drones as much as we should. Would you agree we need to do more?
Yes, sir. In my own experience, having commanded the Navy's first unmanned and artificial intelligence task force, I'm very familiar with the capabilities that exist in America's elite tech sector. I believe that we need to leverage that tech sector to the maximum capability and deliver capability in the very near term, because we could do more, to your point.
General, I'm delighted to hear that you think Ukraine can win. My view is Ukraine must win. It must win because if it fails, Putin will present a threat to our NATO allies. Do you agree?
Senator, I think, however the war in Ukraine ends, Putin has developed a war economy and a war machine that is underpinned by that war economy that will create a force in being that just by its very presence will be something that from a military perspective, we will have to carefully consider how to provide options to the alliance in the SACEUR role if I'm confirmed, and to the Secretary and the President in my EUCOM role if confirmed.
Thank you. I look forward to continuing these conversations with both of you and really welcome your being so forthcoming. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Blumenthal. Gentlemen, are the figures about drone production with regard to Ukraine versus the United States, are they accurate? Was that a pretty accurate assessment of the production rate?
Senator, I don't know if the exact numbers are accurate, but the order of magnitude and the scale that Senator Blumenthal was describing, I think, is representative of the problem we face.
And Admiral Cooper?
Yeah, same perspective, sir. Order of magnitude and scale is about the same. I agree.
It's hard to understand how we go forward without increasing our rate, and that's my opinion. Either of you care to comment on that?
So I think America's extraordinary tech sector has the capability and will to produce at scale. This is simply a matter of prioritization with the appropriate authorities.
Thank you very much. And now, Senator Budd.